Hello friends, my name is Host Eric, and I am here to draw a corollary between the thoughts I had earlier with the FEFI thing and the other cognitive function. I made this little chart of notes for me to look at here. I'm not sure how visible this is. I'm going to try to hold it so you guys can see it the whole time. Except I'm going to have to take it away to look at it myself at a certain point. So, okay. SE, SI, NE, NI, TI, TE. So, okay, FE, we said this is managing others in their emotions. But I wanted to also mention that there's an external application of it and an internal application. So for others, for the external application for FE is how others are displaying emotion. The internal application of FE is managing your own display of emotions to manage other people. For FI, it's deciding the workspace is other individuals. Here, the workspace of FE is also other individuals. I've concluded that groups is not a workspace after all. The groups is not atomic a workspace. It's a type of workspace. It's a combination of things. All right. So then the purpose of FE is to interface successfully with community of agents. The purpose of FI is to establish reliable relationships. And the correlates for FI are NI, SE, and TE. And the correlates for FE are NE, SI, and TI. And people with a mix are conflicted types. People with a mix are, I need a new word for that. People with a mix are endowed with non-naturally combining. I don't know how to say that. So, let's talk then about SE and SI and how that correlates. Well, SE is the workspace is space objects, and it deals specifically with other bodies or other objects, and the purpose of it is to achieve short-term individual outcomes in space. And the out form of it is like ball and hoop and fast car. Ooh, I got a really fast car. And then the end part of it is the kinesthetics, body in space. SI, also dealing with space objects, is the workspace. It is, instead of dealing with other bodies, though, it's dealing with itself as an object. Its purpose is to preserve work impacts. And if you think about it, that's exactly the case. Anything you've done before, to the extent that you are able to preserve its value, is an SI thing. Whether it's an idea, whether it's an experience, whether it's, saving money or whatever. And so then the external workspace for that is going to be your workspace, your wallet, your keys, stuff like that. And just generally keeping your house in order and tidy and stuff. The internal version of that is going to be your schedule, your body and time. Where is my body going to be next? All right, NE, the framework, I've decided, is a framework thing. When I've said truth before, well, that's the workspace. No, the workspace of NE is framework. It's when you are using intuition, you are not operating within an existing. You're not operating within the existing framework. You are generating things that are establishing a new framework or challenging the framework or something. Okay. So, NE is framework parsing. It's the purpose of it is to avoid stagnation, to promote redundancy. That is to say, to make sure that things are properly vetted, because NE is going to come around and disrupt the shit out of them if they're not. And the external manifestation of it is anti-rules, anti-protocols, is anti-TE. Alright, and the systems, rules, protocol systems, they fall before NE because NE is the chaos lord. It's the anti-entropy. It is entropy, it's anti-stasis. And it's anti-SI. in the internal manifestation. It says anti-TE in the external, anti-SI in the internal. NI is anti-TE in the external and anti-SE in the internal. And that means the individual will be adversarial in response to his own effort, I guess you'd say. Consider themselves lazy, but try to defend that. And anti-TI in the main spot because NI is about truths that are not necessarily parsable, but that are highly linkable. A highly linkable, non-parsable truth is one that says, like, oh, my dog died, isn't that sad? Gets a bunch of sad faces on Facebook. A lot of different people, broad linkability, but no parsability, so it's not very deep and it's not going to have any lasting impact particularly. Things that have broad linkability and deep parsability are things like this cognitive function model, which is why we're all talking about it. It allows us to engage. It has more impact. It impacts everything else, too. It's a mechanistic, it's a framework sort of thing. We're dealing in the land of intuition, either introverted or extroverted, because we're trying to find a framework that makes everything else more effective or allows us to understand things more broadly. We're not just trying to find a single answer for a single problem. We're trying to find an answer to fundamental framework questions. That's why this is an introverted. This is why this is an intuitive issue framework. All right, now let's look at TI and TE. You would say that these are about theory and engineering. In other words, concept, planning, abstraction, hypotheticals, conditionalities, stuff like that, and then implementation of a real practical application of it. TE manifests, it's time objects. The workspace is time objects. So the four workspaces are agents, people and animals, objects, framework, and time objects. Space objects and time objects and framework and other individuals, which seems to pretty much sum up everything. For TI, you're looking at the purpose of it being to I guess the purpose of it is time magic, okay, to compress time. To compress time in planning, to allow for planning, to compress time, planning, and then to compress time in the real world, to be more efficient. Both these things are to compress time, right? If I tell you a time object, it's because I don't want to say, you know, something like a YouTube video or any kind of sort of meme, but philosophy or a lot of different kind of things like that that represent human experiences. Could be a picture or something. That it's basically not. I don't have to explain all that goddamn stuff every time. The definition of a time object is that which requires energy to persist, and the definition of a space object is that which requires energy to change. And I've talked about it in enough other videos. If you're watching this one, I'm assuming you probably know what I'm talking about. That's called time magic. I don't have to explain all that stuff now. I just say time object. As it becomes commonplace enough that more people understand what it means, then people who don't understand what it means will feel as though it's on them to figure out what it means. In the current status quo, if I'm using words that I'm making up or terms I coined or whatever, obviously there's an expectation that I'm going to explain what they mean, or else I'm just being unnecessarily and petulantly enigmatic. Alright, so then I have here TI, the external application of TI is anti-FI. We are angry at other people's prioritization of feelings, their own or other people's. The internal application of TI is anti-NE. We are mad at our own. For sure for me, it's the constrainer of NE. It keeps it in check and stops us from being ENTPs for sure. It stops me from being just, you know, like an ESTP, I guess, or something. I don't know. And TE, anti-FE in the external. Your feelings don't matter. This is the rule. TI, your feelings don't matter. This is the truth. We're in direct conflict with one another all times because, see, TE goes to TI, your feelings don't matter, this is the rule. And TI says, these aren't my feelings. Your justifications don't matter because they're inconsistent. They are utilitarian in nature. TE is util, TI is deontology. Okay, so TI is binary in its moral reasonings. TE is much more mushy in it and justifies things through the ends all the time. Because, well, that's the only practical way to get this accomplished. We need to get it accomplished now. We can't come up with a perfect way to do it, so let's do it imperfectly. But let's get it done. And if it's successful in accomplishing the outcome, then we don't worry about whether or not it's done perfectly or not. Okay, so TE anti-FE in the external and anti-NI in the internal. It's saying that truth did not come through a kind of work that I can codify into some sort of protocol or algorithm. I don't understand where that truth came from, but that's where I get my truths from, is through NI. So I utilize it, but TE is the thing that says stay practical, NI. Stay practical. I'm not going to talk about the mixed types now. We'll call them mixed types, where you have a mix of these that aren't the naturally occurring mix, because each of these pairs naturally with the fourth one, the inverse proportional of it. So NE's inverse proportional is SI, TI's inverse proportional is FE, FI's inverse proportional is TE, and SE's inverse proportional is NI, and vice versa. So those are the ones that naturally go together. Now, why do I say that SE and NI go with TE and FI? Well, because FI's finality, NI's finality, TE is practicality. These are all space things, right? And then SE is, of course, bodies and objects. So it's important to remember that these things also correlate with space and time. Space being stasis, the reality engine consideration called periods of change and periods of stasis. That's it for now. Thanks for watching Talking with Famous People.